We begin our story here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm part of a group made up of local legends, and local legends make plans at Denny's in March. Our leader, Cody Stang, wanted to go all out for this year's raft adventure. It's been a yearly project of his since 2018 to build a raft out of the most basic materials and survive in the elements for nights straight. The crew have some harrowing stories, but every year the raft held it together until the end of the trip, and the crew stayed together to do it again the following year. Last year was the most impressive raft yet, with 3 stories making rafting a luxury until we hit some challenges, of course, but that's last year's story. This year, we want to upgrade that concept in some way. Ideas on the top of that list are a mast to climb up, a new raft floor that isn't just pallets, and a motorboat that can pull us through tough waters while still legally being a raft. Those were all the ideas I was okay with. There is, of course, one idea that stood above the rest. Like many incredible yet infeasible feats, I thought that the 4-story raft would fade into the background. But then it didn't. Cody, our leader, liked the idea and said it was viable. Enough of the group agreed to make it this year's raft upgrade. But even then, I thought, there are some plans that just don't get built, so maybe this would get cut down the line. I just wasn't sure the glory of a 4th story was worth the heightened risk and the monstrous effort to build it up and to take it down. We decided on a launch date of July 18th, and that concluded our meeting in March at Denny's. Now it's 3 weeks before our launch date, and we're picking up our first batch of milled wood. We drive it back to Cody's land to begin constructing decks, which is what we call the floor, and the frames, the walls that form a box and hold up the whole thing. We're 15% done on the first day. Day 2 is on July 11th, 1 week away from our launch. We get all the decks for the first story done and stand on them like this because we're tired. 25% done. And 4 stories or not, I knew it would be a hustle of productivity. On our 3rd and final full building day, we went to pick up our 64 large barrels. We also spent 8 hours there finally putting last year's raft in a dump truck. That left us with very little time to build 2 frames. Then the sun sets on our meager 35% of a raft. Now it is July 18th, launch day. Since we're short on trailers, we take a load with what we have while other guys can work on new frames. Cody is confident we're going to launch today. And to add pressure, we were in contact with PA Homepage, a local news station, and they were going to run a 4 o'clock live TV story on us with an interview. It seemed like an impossible goal, but that was our goal, and it was impossible.
It's 3:22, there's no time to eat lunch. We're supposed to be on live TV at 4. So I'm eating on the back of here.
Now, this is before we started screwing the walls, or the frame, to the deck. So when the trailer tilted because we drove over a road that was pitched downhill, catastrophe struck. Initially, it was the back corner that fell off. The one wall brought the whole frame and all the barrels off the trailer. Our frame that was supposed to hold 3 more stories had fallen apart into individual boards, not a sign of strength or reassurance that our raft could survive. The news station let us know that they had changed our time slot to be 3 live interviews at 5, 5:30, and 6 instead. We made it on time for that with only 1 of 4 decks and a frame in pieces, but we made it. I wondered if anyone watching was taking this year's raft seriously, and I was wondering how we would still launch by tonight. It's thanks to our crewmate Caleb and the trailer he brought that we got every part of the raft taken in loads from Cody's land to the launch site by sunset, still on the same long day. And it would get even longer. We worked into the night doing as much as we could. We built it while it was partially floating in the water because there was no way we could lift it all into the water after we put everything on top. We used all of our tools, lights, screws, and wood, and in a few hours we built all the frames on the first layer, then made 1 more frame to go on top for now. I remember helping to lift that frame up to the 2nd layer and handing it to 2 guys on top who dragged it into its spot. That's 2 guys and an entire frame on top of another frame. And in that same moment, I knew that we were going to build a 4-story raft after all. My confidence in Cody changed, and I saw that with all of our effort put together, our dream of a 4-story raft would come true. But it was 11 o'clock, and we didn't want to get in trouble for making noise by the houses on the shore. So we loaded up the rest of the materials onto one section and floated our 80% of a raft down the shore a few hundred feet to sleep on it for the night. Instead of being worried about the frame cracking and falling down, I slept soundly on the lowest floor under a frame holding the most weight. Tomorrow would be our first full day on the raft. The next morning, still in his pajamas, Cody was installing the floors on the upper sections and building the final frames. Pretty soon, all the frames and floors were done, and the raft, with Cody on top, stood 4 stories tall. Crewmate Ben's friend Patrick came by to fly his paramotor around us and get this awesome footage. I was on the ground recording the whole thing, but when I turned around, they had already launched off without me.
Late to getting on.
And the current was strong too, so they picked up speed quickly.
Oh, no.
Eventually, I walked fast enough in my bare feet on the rocky shore to get ahead of them and hop on board. Now, this raft was the tallest, heaviest, and riskiest raft we had ever built. One that could lead to a major catastrophe and cleanup. I took responsibility to prevent it if possible because there was no safety net, no backup plan. It was us, our stuff, and the raft, subject to the challenges of the river and whatever was in it.
It literally went from short to long to short.
We had to get used to our new home on the Susquehanna and all of its quirks. It had one quirk where each of the sections would bump into each other every few seconds as they bobbed and floated down the river.
It was pretty aesthetic.
The other quirk was that a whole section would lean if there were even 2 guys standing on one side of the upper floors. Real quirky. Definitely not going to topple over into the river for us to clean up. During our first full day, we all found something fun to do. I got some sun on the 4th floor, and from the top, it's hard to even capture all 4 stories. The river carried the raft along no matter which direction we were facing. Our goal for the next few days was to go as far as possible so that by the end of our trip, on the 5th day, we could reach a boat launch in Berwick, a whole 31 miles downstream. In a kayak, you could paddle yourself and make good time. In a mega raft, you let the river float you downstream, like tree-sized driftwood. And when it didn't, we'd push with sticks and try pulling with our kayaks. Almost the end of day 1. And now that the sun was setting, it was crazy to me that I had spent nearly one full day on a raft that was 4 stories tall, a feature I thought could have gotten canceled. The sun set and it got dark, so we pulled over and parked our large houseboat on this peaceful shore. This was the coldest night we slept through, being in the 50s, but by far this was the least exciting day. You'll see what I mean. The next morning we were off, smooth sailing. 4 kayaks was an improvement over last year's 2, and we could really feel the speed. And you know those quirks I talked about earlier? Floorboards cracking under the pressure as we went over rocks was one of them. It felt good to make it over them and not get stuck like any large boat would have. That's until we did get stuck and we had to get out and push. But now we were at our first bridge. The guys have passed under this bridge every year since 2018, but this was the first year we could stand on the top of the raft and reach it like this.
Yo!
Our raft was as tall as a bridge. No one has stood on a raft and touched that bridge before us, and no one may ever do it after us.
Food situation on the 2nd day. We made some breakfast sausages this morning. We got waters in here now. Sodas in here. 2 more packs of water. Full, or it's about this full. Stuff to share with everyone. Snacks and ramen. Buns for tonight. Whole zucchini. And then people's individual stuff. But we've also got things like burgers. More burgers, sausages. This is how we've organized the last raft. So we have space to sit, we get on and off to push.
Best spots in the whole raft.
Now it's 1:05 p.m. and the wind has picked up so much that our raft will not move forward. Crewmate Ben ties a rope to himself and pulls the raft like a work mule. Of course, I help him out too.
Oh, it's getting deeper.
The river takes us down the river another few miles before we get to a shallow spot with a lot of rocks sticking up like this. I can't imagine how bad traveling would be if the river was just a few inches lower. Cody takes this time to make some repairs, and then we push off again. Later on, some guys took kayaks out to collect firewood and large stones and started a small campfire on the raft. And actually, the smoke ended up making this next moment a whole lot more dramatic.
Yo, next guys, next. Oh, shoot!
Matt.
We let the river push us further downstream, but sometimes we had to get in the water and push.
We've taken a lot of steps. We've made a lot of progress.
We did this until sunset, and eventually the raft got lodged on the shallow spot at dusk.
You want to stay here for the night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Like just sleep in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
Like, I think it'd be really fun.
We're legit gonna do that.
And we can just stay here for the night.
Get a swell of water.
In the middle of the night, we're just gonna start going. All right, I'm good with that.
Honestly, Dude, you're right.
Now let me show you where everyone slept.
Was it last night? I almost fell off this like what, 3 times maybe?
Oh man. One here. Second story. He's getting out of the way of the bugs. And then we'll sleep 1, 2, and 3.
So I don't have any footage of this, but it's 1:40 a.m. and crewmate Francesco is waking everyone up by yelling something. I realize he's saying fire and look behind me to see a 6-foot flame. We all forgot to fully extinguish the fire and it destroyed part of the boat before we extinguished it with the 10-gallon water jug. I did not expect it to burn through a barrel like that, and I'm glad it didn't do more. In the morning, we found that none of us fell off in our sleep, and the raft didn't move an inch. This is our 3rd full day living on the raft, but we didn't waste a lot of time getting in the water and pushing off to a new day of adventures. I don't know what we would have done with a smaller crew. It took a lot of pushing to get it started again.
Yeah, we're just pushing a little bit more. Keep going.
We were on our way, but I still watched for any signs of the raft toppling over to cause a raft catastrophe.
Jim Jr.
Just grabbed it with his hands.
That's crazy.
Good job.
Very impressive.
Yeah. You trying to get up or?
I'm trying. Oh, ow! That goes down. That goes down. All right. Oh, tree right there. Oh, climb a tree. Climb that tree, boy.
Now, as we approach towns and cities, our next obstacles were bridges. Getting through a bridge is a breeze since the water pushing us naturally flows around the bridge piers, but it can also speed us up into a bridge rapid.
Race! Oh, buddy.
And you can even say that our raft is bridge friendly. We even gave a bridge a soda. Until one bridge in Wilkes-Barre attacked us. Tricked us, really. You see, we were flowing through this path, but we didn't see all the rocks that would have caused serious problems until we were too close. That means we needed to go through the path to the left. This is what happened.
And everybody in the back, Mark, so you push out the back. Watch out.
Goldfish.
Honestly, I really thought we were all
Just snap in half, yeah. Will, you nearly died.
Will, were you trying to like get your kayak in between the raft and the... No. I'll save you guys. Will, I was so scared we were gonna like crush you or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Like Will was like, actually. Very careful, everyone, getting up that one. Nate, stay over there, because like it's this right here that's bad. Like, don't even walk on it, Nate. So our number one priority right now needs to be, we need to get to shore as soon as possible. And once there, we're gonna like all of us push on that second deck as hard as we can. I'm gonna like impact, like just try to secure it as much as possible. So don't go on the second deck at all. Like stay off it.
I was questioning how we could undo this much force. I didn't think that we could get out and pull its spine back into shape like an office of raft chiropractors. But Cody took off the supports and we fixed it. We fixed the raft after slamming sideways into a bridge at full force. This is the moment that I realized we can get through anything, and the raft will not fall over. I couldn't think of anything worse that could happen to us, seriously. From that moment on, I didn't think about a raft catastrophe, and I lightened up. I mean, everyone survived without a scratch. Hey, even that goldfish that fell off was safe and dry. And to add to the risk-taking of this day, we found a spot deep enough to jump off the raft.
See ya.
I think we answered that age-old question about your friends jumping off a bridge, but replace a bridge with a 4-story raft, of course. When the river became shallow and slow again, crewmate Tall Nate pulled us along. But as we traveled past last year's final destination, I remembered that one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life is to take apart last year's raft. And this raft is even bigger, and there was still the unknown obstacles ahead.
Pull you? What?
I knew now that the raft would survive hitting anything, but it only took one extremely shallow patch in the next few miles before our destination to get the raft stuck and make our last day brutal.
I'm the strongest man in the world.
Putting that aside, the sun was setting and it would get dark soon. We picked up pizza from Nanacoke to celebrate our last full day of rafting. It felt good to eat something besides nuts, fruits, and meat sticks for once. We only had one more day to go, but it was Sunday and 2 of our crewmates had to go.
Man, most of you won't be alive tomorrow.
We didn't want to stay near the shore for the night because anyone could see us from the bridge and then walk down to bother us. And we couldn't travel past the second bridge because of the rapids that lay ahead. Rapids in the dark wasn't our idea of fun. So Cody laid out the plan to us.
Another thing we could do is maybe try to hit the pylon closest to shore. Because that right there, we should be able to hit pretty easily.
And stay on it. Well, yo, that stress out the boat.
It shouldn't, no. The current doesn't look super strong there, so we should be okay.
We took a nice, relaxing paddle down the river at night and found a parking spot right by the bridge's pier for what would be the coolest sleeping spot of my life. It's like Tom Sawyer made an OMG Airbnb. We went to sleep only 2 miles away from our destination, a closer boat launch in Nanticoke.
So it's nighttime and we are just settled down underneath a bridge. We're under a bridge right now. There's a bridge there.
We knew that the next day would be our last, but we didn't know how long it would take to travel those 2 miles. It could take 6 or 7 hours if things went really bad. Someone fishing out on the shore actually told us that there were shallow water rapids ahead and that we wouldn't make it through. But it's not like we could turn around. So in the morning we pushed on, ignorant of the challenges ahead.
Oh man, waterfall incoming.
Oh, you good? You good? You good. Take relax.
I think we hit something. I just threw my balance.
Superman, you know, just breaks through walls, you know.
More like rubber band.
Oh shoot! All right, let me get down.
We lost Ben.
I'm gonna go upstairs and get me the impact. Scared, man. Our best decision is just moving the rocks by hands.
If we're trying to dig the river deeper under the raft, that means we're really stuck this time. We pushed left, we pushed right, we even tried pulling, but some raft barrels are stuck on some large rocks and the river is pushing us hard. After an hour of this, Cody makes a hard choice. We're going to cut the raft in half.
I'm not a big fan of this plan, but Captain says.
You think it would be dangerous, but we cut one of those ropes in the center, letting half of the raft rotate around like a door hinge just a few hundred feet from our final destination. And it works. The half that spins free ends up pulling the half that was stuck off the rock it was lodged on. Even though I was right about getting really stuck, we pulled through, and if we kept it up, the teardown wouldn't be so bad either. It took us quite a few hours and it rained on us, but I kept finding something to do while some of the guys went to pick up their trucks and trailers. We loaded it onto our trailers, made a little pit stop on accident, and dropped it off at Cody's property for another time.
This is what it's come to. The raft pushed us to our limits, and then we pushed it to its limits.
Now, I thought it'd be interesting to answer some common questions while I show you some bonus footage I have. The things we did were not illegal. Dangerous, do not try at home, but not a crime. The raft was classified like a floating inner tube. Each of us had a life vest to wear, and the kayaks had licenses. Fortunately, even as we were having troubles with all those trailer loads, we didn't run into any issues with the authorities. Another thing is, no one really messed with us. We had an audience from the shore, people cheering us on and saying that we were their heroes, and I didn't expect the dozens of cars to honk at us when they saw us from the road. We always tried to yell back though because it was fun. We all had our cell phones and we had reception every day except the first day. I also brought a massive power bank to recharge everyone's phones, but you can see that we weren't really attached to them. I missed recording plenty of moments because of where I left my phone and camera.
Dude, did you snag him on the freaking gill?
In terms of wildlife encounters, a couple of guys were catching and releasing fish all day. Jeb chased after a beaver once, which was comical. Mosquitoes were a bit annoying at night, which is why I covered every inch of skin except for my nose at night. It also helped me survive the first night because of the temperature dropping to 55 degrees. Alright, well, leave the rest of your questions and compliments in the comments for other people to scroll through while the video plays. And this is where you can watch last year's trip that was just as epic. Alright, the raft movie is over.